Good morning, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to the side event, Road to the Fourth Industrial Revolution for Africa. Obviously very excited for this session. This is organized by UNIDO and UNECA under the auspices of the Africa Industrialization Week 2021, focusing on industrializing Africa and the commitment towards an inclusive and a sustainable industrialization and economic diversification. My name is Sarma Pradanovic and I will be your host today on this important discussion on the Fourth Industrial Revolution and its effects. The Fourth Industrial Revolution has the potential to transform Africa's economy, improve the quality of life for all people, increase its productivity and enhance its global and regional trade capabilities. The discussions of the Fourth Industrial Revolution will undoubtedly have strong complementaries to the implementation of the African Digital Transformation Strategy that was adopted at the 2020 African Union Summit. This side event aims to bring together stakeholders to discuss approaches through which Africa can leverage the 4 IRs to initiate the implementation of this strategy within a short and medium-term horizon. Unfortunately, we cannot be together physically, but this is exactly what the technological revolution, the 4 IR, and everything, all the development and innovation that enables us to be together no matter what today through this digital platform. Thank you very much to all the speakers that has joined and all the audience that will be with us today. Allow me to just shortly give some housekeeping rules that we would like to have for everybody. The point being that, of course, this session will be recorded and we hope to disseminate it later on. Please do kindly mute yourself if you are not speaking. The audience will have the opportunity to have questions, and if you do have questions, please insert it in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. If we have the time, we will be answering the questions, but if we do not succeed in answering them all, please acknowledge that. Also, interpretation services is available as one of the high-level speakers will be speaking French. You have on the right bottom side, there is an opportunity for the interpretation. You can choose the language that you would like to be using. We will have French, English, English, French. The format of this event is basically two panels, 45 minutes panels. One is a high-level panel on the name Policies Towards Productive Transformation and Fourth Industrial Revolution, and a technical panel on policy, technology, investments, and skills facets of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And it is my great honor to be starting this first part, the first panel, and introduce the high-level speakers in the order as they will be speaking, starting with Mr. Bernardo Calzadilla Sarmiento, who is the Managing Director of Digitalization, Technology, and Agribusiness at UNIDO. An experienced manager and global leader with more than 30 years of international experience in global development, investment promotion, funds mobilization, and social responsibility across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Mr. Oliver Chinganya, Director of the African Center for Statistics at UNECA, also coordinates the ECA Digital Center for Excellence, a chartered statistician of the Royal Statistical Society in the UK, and recently elected as Vice President of the International Statistical Institute. His Excellency, Mr. Leon Justin Bobo, Minister for Post and Telecommunication and Digital Economy of the Republic of Congo, a political scientist by training who began his professional career in France and today is working hard at the National Commission for the Fight Against Corruption and Misappropriation and Fraud. Mr. Hossam El Gamal, CEO of Iken and the Ambassador of the Digital Economy Commission to Africa at International Chamber of Commerce, a successful serial entrepreneur and policy advisor in a number of roles. So you can read his CV, a lot of things he has done until now. And Mrs. Amel Saidan, co-founder and CEO of BetaCube for Tunisia. Ms. Saidan is an engineer qualified in Germany and the US, turned entrepreneur, ecosystem builder, and digital transformation expert. She's, among others, president of Tunisian startups and board member for the Digital Center of Excellence of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. And I would like to start this discussion. I would like just to check if all the speakers are, if we have all the speakers. Can you just let me know? Okay. So as usual, we will adapt to the situation as it is, and we would like to start the conversation with Oliver Chinganya. And you are definitely a man of numbers with the statistics and your experience. But what would you say were the biggest obstacles to accessing advanced digitalization? And what capacity building measures are necessary to bridge the digital divide? Big questions. The floor is yours, Mr. Chinganya.
Thank you very much indeed. Big questions, and thank you for having me here and joining the other panelists. Let me first of all start by saying that the development of digital technology and its insurgency in the continent accelerates the socio-economic development for member states, and it also connects citizens to many more services and opportunities. And therefore, data and digital innovation are transforming the way governments operate, increasing the transparency and service delivery. And really want to thank the digital technology more that, we see more people, no matter their income level, where they live, they can access unprecedented amounts of information like online jobs, enroll in courses, and receive life-saving care through the telemedicine, providing an easy and secure alternative to the traditional banking system, or increasing the financial inclusion. So in African countries, if I may also just add, African countries have also have the potential to benefit from digitalization in various development domains. For such development is required for the African states as well as for the rest of the world to take measures of a digital future, to facilitate a digital enabling environment and to enhance learning, discussions, and exchange of platform about the opportunities, engagement, and challenges of digitalization in Africa. However, there are a couple of challenges, as you've highlighted, a couple of obstacles and challenges that hinder most of the African citizens to access advanced digitalization. Some of the factors, if I just mention some, is that the ICT infrastructure limitations itself. Now, with the internet penetration rate of about 28.2% by the end of 2020, according to ITU, we see Africa, really lagging behind the rest of the world to be able to reach and have the quality of the ICT penetration that is required. The infrastructure challenges require really significant investment in order to have 3 billion a year and adoption of policies to address this. Noting that 10% increase in mobile internet penetration increases the continent's GDP by about 2.5% compared to 2% globally. So again, the other obstacle is that we see that in Africa, still the least connected in the region compared to other regions on the globe, with about 28% of internet coverage and 34% of mobile broadband. The low penetration rate of mobile internet in Africa is due to the high cost of internet access in Africa, which remains the biggest barrier. The average cost of 1 GB data on the continent is about 7.12% on average of the income. A high cost of smartphone, also that's another barrier. And that we, from one of the organizations, the Alliance for Affordable Internet, indicates that the average price of smartphone in Africa is about $62. That is about 68% of the monthly gross national income per capita. Sierra Leone, we're talking about $265. Burundi, we're talking about $52. Niger, we're talking about $60. And some of the countries where smartphone is really very expensive. And Botswana, perhaps the most affordable area where it's about 26%. Another issue is the limited internet access and bandwidth constraints. With an average bandwidth about 31 kilobytes per second of internet user, Africa still lags behind on overall access to internet compared to other regions on the globe. We also see in many instances that the digital divide between the poor and the rich, the divide between the cities and the rural areas with regard to education, the scale of the digital divide and its implication to remote learning are striking. only about 17.8% of the households have internet access at home, with a level of household access to computers about 10% overall. This shows that there is a really significant use gap where individuals live within the footprint of network, not using the internet because of lack of affordability, the skills, and so forth. We also see that there's also limited and knowledge in digital innovation itself as one area. Currently, what we see on the continent is the lag behind, and as reported by ITU, which suggests that about 2% of Kenyans are using the internet to find and apply for jobs, against a global average about 17%. In Sudan and Zimbabwe, what we see is 4% of adults are able to cope and be able to test files. But effectively, what we see in developing countries, these skills in African countries particularly require targeted approach and addressing to be able to have both the supply and demand user challenge to be addressed. Of course, there's also another challenge is the minimum, and one would call maybe an awareness of the technology that is available. There are concerns regarding, say, for instance, cybersecurity, data protection, regulation increasing. We also situations, for instance, social protection initiatives, which are hampered by the fact that more than 40% of the population lack an official identity. But to address about the issue of capacity that you raised, moderator, if I may, in a few minutes, I think the digital divide in is an economic and social inequality with regard to access to use of and as well as impact of information and communication technologies. This technology can also include the telephone, televisions, personal computers, as well as the internet. What we see, moderator, here also is that the digital divide typically exists between these cities, or rather those cities and those in the rural areas, between the educated and the uneducated. We also see a situation between the socioeconomic groups globally, between the more and less industrialized developed nations. Even among the populations with some access to technology, the digital divide can be evident in the form of lower performance computers, lower speed wireless connections, lower price connections such as dial-up, and limited access subscription based on content. But some of the measures of capacity that would help to bridge some of these divide would be, for instance, promotion of digital inclusion, broadband plans and digital economy efforts, increasing efforts to improve digital literacy and digital skills, incorporation of public access policies into universal access and services, support of innovation policies targeting undeserved and marginalized groups, taking into consideration, for instance, in network coverage and infrastructure, support of efforts to provide broadband connectivity to refugees and displaced individuals, the limiting environment impacts in national broadband plans, and finally, two items I think is that the encouraging and evaluating of the ICT and digital innovation, including promotion of broadband would be broadband affordability would be some of those I think efforts that would be able to help address some of the issues. So I'll leave it there, Chair, and then maybe perhaps wait if there are any questions on what I've said or in response to the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Definitely a lot of challenges, and I would love to be discussing on how to work on these. Thank you very much for your inputs. I would like to move now to Mr. El Gamal, because how can the policy framework support the implementation of the Industry 4.0, the digital transformation cycle? And can you share maybe some examples of your portfolio, of the Iken portfolio?
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the interesting session. And I just want to pick up on what Mr. Shiganya was just saying, that a lot needs to be done with regards to the traditional digital transformation, first of all, related to internet penetration, access, cost of internet, limitation of bandwidth, and all of that. Although in fourth industrial revolution, some of this does not need the internet access as such, but there are a lot of other issues that needs to be handled as well in order to benefit from this revolution that would really make a difference. And let me simply say that on national level, it is really important to recognize the correlation between non-organic growth of the economy in the 21st century and the adoption of the fourth industrial revolution solutions as part of the knowledge economy strategy. especially for developing countries. After reviewing many cases in OECD, in some Far East economies, etc., we have identified the digital transformation by adopting the technology of the fourth industrial revolution into management systems, production, supply chain, decision-making, may achieve a potential productivity boost of up to 50%, cost reduction of up to 20%, increase in product access to market up to 25%, improve quality by up to 30%, increase financial collection efficiency by 30%, reduce waste of resources by up to 40%, and increase competitiveness and the possibility of additional growth of national income between 1.4 and 2.5% annually. And this comes from different resources and references. So in fact, Industry 4.0 enables continuous resource productivity and efficiency gains to be delivered across the entire value network. And this needs really to be understood. And I would give an example. The fourth industrial revolution implementation in agriculture, for example, and irrigation would help saving water, optimize the use of pesticides, chemicals, fertilizers, according to crop, land, and environment, resulting in much better productivity, sustainable quality, better supply chain management, and potential export growth, and certainly better return on investment. And by the way, this could be at the beginning confined within the farm itself and not connected to other areas. So by just revolutionizing the use of 4.0 tools within certain farms, we are able to increase much more the productivity. So coming to your question, to support the implementation of the fourth industrial revolution digital transformation cycle, I think we need the following. First, we need to assess and share best practice case studies at different countries with measured outcome and ROI, especially countries from Africa and developing countries having I4.0 pilot projects in economic sectors. It is very important to share the experience, the knowledge, and the best cases, so we do not have to start from the beginning, but to share the result of the success of others. And this is something that UNECA and the African Union needs to take into consideration. We need to form multi-stakeholder working group on continental and on national level to propose policies and standards to stimulate and to regulate the use of the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution in digital transformation and to measure the results and the societal impact, especially with relation to the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. We need to suggest through this working group a regulatory body. We need to suggest a regulatory body, high-level organization and authority framework to promote, stimulate, and to regulate and measure the implementation of the I4.0 digital transformation cycle on national level. Currently, what we have on all countries with the help of the ITU is the Telecommunication Regulatory Authority. This is no longer good enough. We need to have a new body, structure, and policies that would really help turning from telecommunication based to knowledge society based. And this needs to be with the help of everyone maybe to upgrade the current TRA into this I4.0 digital society or knowledge society regulatory authority. We need to develop integrated national continental plan to build skills and competences program in the different area of the I4.0. So within the artificial intelligence in quantitative analysis, We need to build capacity of people that there is a good example within the Egyptian government. The Egyptian Ministry of Communication is having a clear strategy and a clear capacity building program for the artificial intelligence, and the Egyptian country had moved like 50 points on the scale of artificial intelligence readiness. So maybe this is something to be taken care, to be taken as an example for other African nations. We need also to work on this capacity building for the digital security. So not anymore cyber security, but overall digital security, including operating technology security. We need to work on capacity building for operating technology sensors, design and programming, on SCADA and MES, Industrial Digital Execution Program, augmented reality and 3D design, blockchain technology, 5G telecommunication technology. And certainly, we need to work on global standards for the regulation and management of those I4.0 systems. Just imagine if we are implementing the new technology in healthcare. What are the standards required for different hospitals and clinics to maintain so that they can implement those technology without facing ransomware, without facing interruption of service, without facing misuse? So there are really needs for standards to handle this. And again, this Industry 4.0 regulatory authority need to develop a clear plan for the government needs transformation projects within the next 3 to 5 years. We cannot, whenever we are implementing Industry 4.0 revolution is touching all sectors. No one will start by handling in all sectors. So each and every country will need to put priority on what sector they need to start projects in, national projects in, whether it is industry, whether it is agriculture, health, transportation, smart cities, education, trade, but this needs to be identified. And accordingly, then this would be much clearer to investment funds, to startups, to banks, so that to promote and encourage and create the appropriate stimulating ecosystem and prepare for successful implementation of such projects. There should be an incentive program on national and continental level for the research, development, and innovation in this field with the academia side. And probably there would be needed specialized research teams that would work in line with the objective of the national strategy. And certainly, on top of all and before all, we need to develop an awareness plan for the community to understand the benefits of the expected qualitative and quantitative improvement due to the implementation of the Industrial 4.0 revolution in various sectors, and how to use the accurate analysis of the big data using artificial intelligence and linking different supply chain and achieving different agility, sustainable quality, swifter response, and greater efficiency. As example from Iken portfolio and what we have implemented, we started under the auspices of the Egyptian Prime Minister, a national initiative in cooperation with the Ministry of Military Production and with General Electric Digital in Egypt to build the capacity of 1,000 Egyptian engineers from manufacturing sector to raise their capability to understand Industry 4.0 competences and to be able to use those to assess and to upgrade their own factories. And we believe is by starting building the awareness of those engineers that they will know better to do the gap analysis of their own factories and how best to utilize I4.0 tools and solution to have better efficiency, better productivity, a better return on investment. There is also an initiative that started for R&D with the help of the Science, Research and Technology Academy in Egypt that is funded by the academy. So a consortium has been built between public sector, private sector, and academia to start some pilot projects. So upgrading the capability of some factories, implementing critical infrastructure management system for water production and distribution, as there are a lot of deficiency in distribution of water, and water is very critical to our country. So by using Industry 4.0 technology, we are able to cut in half the waste of water. And having an initiative related to more crop for less water by using smart irrigation projects.
Thank you.
And this is about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the examples, especially really talking about the examples and also having this vision of what we have discussed earlier about the importance of broadband access to internet and everything that is coming up. And then on the other hand, also saying that it's not the fourth industrial revolution is not only about digitalization, but other aspects to it. I would like to now call to the floor Mr. Casadilla Sarmiento and ask you, I mean, obviously there is a lot of potential, there are a lot of challenges, but also there are maybe some downsides, risks such as automation. And the question is, what policies are necessary to ensure that jobs are not necessarily lost and that young people in particular upskilled for future labor markets? The floor is yours. If you can unmute yourself, please. You are still on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, wonderful. Hi, great to have you.
Hello, good afternoon from Dubai. Here it's thank you so much for your question. And yes, I think that the fourth industrial revolution is very well underway, but it has deep global implications for sustainable development. Unlike the other industrial revolution, the complexity of 4IR presents the policymakers with very different challenges. First of all, the governance, rules and regulatory approaches for new technology and processes of innovation needs to be more agile, flexible, resilient. What is happening is that regulation, even standardization, is running after the implementation of the new technologies. And this is why UNIDO has been promoting the notion of utilizing technology foresight in order to see where regulatory frameworks will be required in the future. Also, there are other tools such as regulatory sandboxes, anticipatory approaches. And in all this, I think that the most important is to have multi-stakeholder approaches and the use of guidelines and promotion of international initiatives, because the major player in this new technological revolution is the private sector, and any regulatory activity has to involve them. In industrialized countries, also policymakers are exploring the universal basic income for subsidies for jobs, tax and automation. This is the big innovation that we have now, the global tax for the digital big companies. But we need a policy avenue to prevent job losses and to establish a more human technology-centered interface to link it to the education system reform policies. traditionally, education has been monodisciplinary, with an education system offering a narrow specialized training and skills program. So by 2030, Africa's potential workforce will be among the world's largest, paired with the need to infrastructure, skills for innovation and technology. 4IR represents a massive opportunity for growth, particularly for youth. And we strongly believe that there is this potential. Almost 60% of Africa's population is under 25, which make Africa also the world's youngest continent. And this is where we have to address. Young people are very much prone to assimilate also the digital reality in which we are living today. In the context of 4IR, there is therefore a demand for interdisciplinarity. We are on the one side in the need to have this multi perspectives. On the other side, I say we also suffer from this multitasking, from this fragmentation of our attention. Therefore, there are a lot of changes, but we need to have a process where there is a virtuous combination between specialization, complementarity, and the need of permanent and continuous learning. So the policies should focus on implementing the solution, such as qualification frameworks outside specific tasks. The frameworks heavily rely on participation and inputs from the business community. And this is where UNIDO again is promoting the need to have strong interface and interaction with the private sector, so this can easily be adapted. After school programs are also fundamental to connect the disconnected youth, and also to disfranchising, to provide them to additional opportunities and access to learning. And this will be possible in the new digital space in which we are living. There are apprenticeship models, dual education apprenticeship models that can be used. Also, all these models provide a platform that business can use to provide pipeline hiring for the opportunity to pre-scan candidates. In UNIDO, we have developed also, during COVID, it was amazing. We have the UNIDO Knowledge Hub as a learning and knowledge development facility, LKDF. So, and we have seen the tremendous interest and important growth of these tools. So we are also working on 4IR skills development with the member states. We are placing more and more importance in the transition to this new reality by developing a framework and 4IR framework. But also we have noticed that in the UNIDO programs for country partnerships, such Rwanda, Egypt, Mauritania, Senegal, Tanzania, Zambia, there is strong demand for digital skills development on gender and skills. And let me finalize by mentioning this strategic framework we are launching during the general conference, where we have also women and youth at the core. It is about making the fourth industrial revolution work for all, being people-centered, really making sure that we address the needs of the SMEs. The big companies don't need any support for this. And also that we have a gender-sensitive and gender-oriented 4IR framework, which will allow to work for sustainability. So UNIDO stands ready to work with the African member states and partners to support the development of a tailored policy frameworks at the regional, sub-regional, and national level. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Bernardo. And this fits so well now to continue with Ms. Saidan. You exactly this question of 4II working for all and the issue of gender. If you can follow up on this, what really frameworks and policies would be needed to include more female-led startups? And also my personal question, you are at the core of what is developing in terms of innovation and startups. How do you see the development there?
Thank you very much, Selma. So indeed, I share with all the speakers today that we have massive challenges to deal with on the African continent. So besides the connectivity, we have also challenges related to the frameworks, to the legal frameworks, compatibility and interoperability between these frameworks. These are challenges that stand in front of men and women trying to innovate in the digital space. We have also challenges related to mobility of people and goods when we talk about logistics and the innovating in the industry and logistics as well. But we have also challenges related to the size of the markets. So when we speak digital transformation, especially when it comes to industry, manufacturing, and all other industries, very often we have the challenge of the readiness of the markets to absorb innovation coming from startups. And this is specifically acute when it comes to women innovating in the startup space, because so we have many of our countries in Africa, women present in the STEM fields, super performing in engineering. So in countries like Tunisia, for instance, 60% of university graduates in the tech fields are actually women, but they tend to disappear or at least to be less present in the startup scene. Again, in Tunisia or in many other countries, like we have something like between 20 and 30% of startups being co-founded by women. And it's not only about the founding and starting startups, it's also about making them survive and evolve and succeed throughout the journey of a startup. And this is only possible if they have the right access to funding as well. So, and this is where policies come into play, because access to funding is today limited to, so we know the data worldwide. We're not sure if we have the right, the data everywhere in Africa, because the data worldwide is telling us that only 2% of VC funding goes to women-led startups. And it's even worse when we go in specialized areas, like when we talk about fintech and innovating in the financial services industry. So VC funding that goes to women-led fintechs is just about 1% of, or even less. So first, we need to find out about the data on our continent, and then make sure that we have at least the mandate coming from, let's say, funds who are giving the funds to the child funds investing in startups, that they should have a minimum of 50% of women on investment committees, for instance, because statistically, and Oliver knows very well that as well, that when we have women in investment committees, they tend to be twice as likely to invest in women-led startups. So there is a dynamic that we need to initiate so that it can self-sustain afterwards. And then there is also an issue of identifying the markets and the use cases. When you look at the Industry 4.0 platform in Germany, for instance, there is online already a list of use cases that are very common to in manufacturing, for instance, that have been identified and offered and suggested to the startup community so that they can innovate around these use cases. Very often, women and men founders of startups are disconnected from the needs of the industry and the needs of the corporates. And this is where programs like Open Innovation with a special quota. So I'm really a friend of quota, because this is where the dynamics can be initiated, and then afterwards it will hopefully self-sustain. But we can start with open innovation programs that shouldn't stop at the level of celebrating winners of hackathons. They should be really taken to the next level and really supporting these startup founders, men and women, to take their businesses to the next level. So what we do at BetaCube, for instance, so what I'm trying to do on the field is actually very much linked to connecting the dots. So BetaCube is a venture builder. So we co-create startups from scratch, and we are focusing right now on fintech and mobility, and we're planning to expand on other fields, very much looking at the B2B area. And this means that we work in close collaboration with corporates to identify their needs and the needs of the market, and to co-create with them solutions for their needs and for the markets. So today we pay special attention to having enough women co-founders on board. So we have more than 60% of our startups being co-founded by women, but we also drive specific programs where we promote women entrepreneurship. So we have, for example, right now a Women in FinTech program running, so incubation program for MENA, but we have also startups that are coming beyond the MENA region. We have started a program that's called Senior Women in Business for women researchers. So we're creating the linkage between university researchers and the startup world. But we have another program running called CorpUp. It's a corporate innovation program where we support corporates in financial services, but also in manufacturing, logistics, to identify use cases where they have problems and connect them with the startup world. And if they don't have a startup, we cannot find a startup that solves the problem, we create one. So it's a lot about policies, but also about the commitment of the private sector, the field, to make things work on a day-to-day basis. And then when we talk innovation, when we talk startups, it's a lot of effort on the ecosystem. So we all need to collaborate around the same objectives and around the same vision of innovating in Africa.
Thank you very much for your very passionate inputs here, Ms. Saidan. And I mean, as a woman in startups and venture capital and investing, I can only confirm the data that you have noted. And it doesn't matter if it's 1% or 2%, it is far too low. We are just simply losing on the potential that is there in terms of innovation, but also in terms of the funding and the possibilities that are there. I would like to use this moment to first thank Mr. El Gamal for sharing his presentation. Thank you very much for that. There is also a question asking if Mr. Chingania can also share his presentation. It would be much appreciated. Please do post in the chat also your contacts where people can reach out to you to ask you questions directly. Unfortunately, we will not have really time to go into that, but please, if you can put it there in the chat, and so people can reach out to you directly. Just if it's possible, if you are still here with us, yes. Is Mr. Chingania, if you can, there is a question, how can governments use data and statistics to formulate effective policies to promote digitalization? If you can do a really short, I know this is a difficult question, but still maybe you can give us short answers to this.
Not a difficult question, that's in my purview in terms of, I work with all the national statistical offices in all African countries. So that's one of the things that we are doing at the moment is really to help countries modernize their statistical systems, because one of the things we realized under COVID, the statistical system was so vulnerable that in many cases they were not even able to go out in the field and collect data. So what we are trying to do now is to ride on the expertise of some of the people that are connected here to see how they can actually support national statistical offices to ensure that the whole statistical production value chain is digitalized, so that there's real-time data. So there is a lot of potential there, and we've seen changes, for instance, in Tunisia, where already some of these things are happening, in Morocco, in South Africa, in Rwanda, where they're really using the CAPI even for data collection, mobile data collection, and all the tools that are available now within the technology. So there is a revolution, there really a change. So there is, and we're giving that support to the governments. Yeah, so that's within our purview.
That sounds good. We'll see good examples of how the crisis can move us all to change and do better in one way or another. Thank you very much for the quick answer on the question. And with this, I would like to thank all the panelists. I would love to spend time with you and discuss it, because I just find it so fascinating, this combination of the need. I've personally worked in several projects across Africa, and it is sometimes really just the access to internet is already an issue. Sometimes it's knowledge, sometimes it's other aspects of it, the productivity and everything that we have discussed today, the need for policies. I would like really to thank the high-level panelists for your time, for your insights, for your input, for everything you are doing every day to make the world better and to create more chances and opportunities for all with the different also program within the UNIDO and across the different organizations working with you. It's amazing to see the opportunities and how we can create out of the crisis better examples, better solutions, and better ways to do things. And also one of the things that was mentioned during today's discussion, the importance of sharing the best case practices. Obviously, there are so many good examples and so many good things happening, but sometimes we just simply don't know, and we try and start again and do the same mistakes. Obviously, this communication and the digital access that we all have today will enable us to share the information, to share the best case practices, and to do better next time. Thank you very much to the high-level panelists. If there was an opportunity now, there would be a big applause to all of you. If we were together in the same room, unfortunately not, the applause is virtual. Thank you very much for being with us. And now we will move to the next panel. Thank you. Thank you. And moving to the second part, it is really, again, an honor for me and to really kind of moving to the technical part to hopefully now go more into details of how we can solve certain things and do certain things. So it is about policy, technology, investments, and skills, facets of the 4IR. I would like just to repeat some of the housekeeping rules for those who joined us right now. It is yes, of course, kindly keep on mute when you're not speaking. This session is being recorded and hopefully will be shared. If you do have questions, please post them in the Q&A box down below on your screen. And allow me now to move to I hope everybody is here today. And yes, we have confirmation. Everybody's here for the technical panel, and I'm very excited about that. Thank you very much. Please allow me, I would say that the CVs of the experts that are joining us on the technical panel are just amazing, and I would recommend everybody to go online and search for them. I will not be able to spend the time on saying all the things, the amazing things they are doing, but let me just start with Professor Mang Sama, a manager of digitalization technologies and digital transformation and agile methods. Ms. Yan Wang, Director of Strategy and Operations at Cosmo IoT Ecosystem Technologies Company. Ms. Suzanne Beeler, General Secretary of International Federation of Robotics. Mr. Jimson Olufuye, Chairman, Contemporary Consulting and Africa ICT Alliance, and Mr. Johannes Ashanafi, Associate Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering and founder and former Director of AI and Robotics. Please, welcome my guests today. So it would be a big applause again here in this occasion, but we are not. We are happy that we do have the technological possibilities that we have and that we can be together no matter what, even if now today in Austria, we have the new lockdown starting, but still we can be here online and technology enables this. I would like to start with you, Mr. Sama Mang. Can you share your experiences on the best avenues through which youth and women in the continent can gain access to the skills needed to harness the opportunities by the ongoing digital transformation. It fits really well on the high-level panel we just had earlier. Please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. So, yeah, my excuse, I'm here in Dubai, in the Global Manufacturing and Industrialization Summit. So it fits very, very well with the topic. So I will also have let's say a speak slightly around this topic again, how to accelerate the skills transfer and the industrialization in developing countries, also in Africa. So how to accelerate the skills, or what is the best venue? I did some research, some benchmark 4 years ago, going around, looking around, what are the facilities, what are the environment where youth and people can really access to high-level knowledge, focusing on industrialization and technologies. Most of the venues I was found was more and more in the area of ICTs, developing apps. Of course, is easier to have to collect some laptops and to have an environment. Okay, there are some fab labs, of course, but what I was missing was really environment where technology can be developed at highest level, where you can find really cutting edge environment, tools, and machines to develop technologies, to customize technologies for the regional, let's say, purpose. And that's why I developed a concept, what we called InnoTech Lab, Innovation Technology Lab. In this InnoTech Lab, there is an environment where you found an end-to-end process, where you have a hub focusing on developing technologies and customizing technologies, AI, manufacturing technologies as well, and their application in various fields like agriculture, like health, like industries. So the second hub is focusing on training. So because we need also people to get high-level training, so we train the people there on site. It's a one location. The third hub is, let's say, the Experimentation and Prototyping Hub, where when you have been trained, you develop technologies, you can prototype and experience within a multidisciplinary environment using 3D printings, all the high-level equipment they need in order to really prototype. The fourth hub is a real workshop where people can go there and really work on steel and welding and so on, putting their idea into practice. And the fifth hub is, of course, the incubation, where we hope some of the ideas can go through an incubation and acceleration process. So as you can see, it's an end-to-end concept where coming there, you come out with, let's say, with concrete knowledge, how to put this knowledge into practice, and how to create also a startup or something like that. And for that, we have a high-level ecosystem, international, based on high-tech theme. We have Dassault System, for example, providing also the complete 3D experience. High-level companies like Boeing, like Mercedes are using all the complex suite, so that youth there are exposed to this high-level environment. We have others also, and we have a lot of institutional organization. We have ONIDO as a partner as well. So you see that we build this ecosystem in order to have SOD's capability to accelerate. So this is a kind of example. This is a kind of blueprint we want to expose, to share. Our goal will be to disseminate this environment around Africa, around developing countries. This is our contribution to this topic. And of course, being an expert in industrialization, coming from the industry, you can imagine that the InnoTech Lab is getting first-hand insights of how it's going on, how to deploy an industry strategic and industry environment, Industry 4.0, with my other colleagues, professors, and also directors in world living and industry. We try to give our experience for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This sounds highly interesting. The concept of really having everything in one place is really, on one hand, complex, but then on the other hand, it really goes through the whole journey and allows to have a full-blown development. As we have seen in many aspects, is that when you have just one part of that, then still it is not developed. And I'm sure that all the participants of your program can profit very much of all the experience with Mercedes. You are directly with Mercedes and different other companies and your teaching skills. Thank you very much for that example. I hope we will be able to also have a quick Q&A session at the end. Thank you very much. I would like to move to Ms. Wen, and also what are the key steps through which African nations can commence their IoT implementation? Use an expert in IoT, and what key services can Hire offer?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to join in this panel discussion. And our chairman, Mr. Zhang Ruimin, has a very famous quotas. Products will be replaced by scenarios, and the industries will be disrupted by ecosystems. So if we come to the IoT implementation of African nations or any other country or any other company facing the challenges of digital transformation, the user's experience is the priority they should consider. And they should ask for themselves, what is the actual needs for implementing IoT infrastructures or new technologies such as 5G or blockchain or AI or some very fancy robotics. And this is actually an open question. I have seen some data asked about 4IR readiness or such kind of tools. Actually, we are practicing a very similar evaluation in China. So I think after all these evaluations, there are three preconditions to achieve the target from our point of view. The first one is zero distance. The second one is non-stock ratio. And the third one is connection. For zero distance means integration of production and consumption. Make it zero distance between manufacturer and the customer, and between user community and the platform. For non-stock in ratio is a very important indicator for all manufacturing factories, which means the stock time is shortened and the efficiency of investment is increased. And for connection, which is also fundamental for IoT's implementation, all the applications and the products are based on the industrial connection between the use case scenario and the platform. The industrial internet connects people, machines, and other industry elements to realize real-time connection and intelligent interaction between upstream and downstream enterprises. There are a lot of types and of quantities of connections and complex things. Higher Cosmoplat has empowered 15 industries to upgrading their performance of the full life cycle. Maybe some people will ask, Hire's manufacturer experience is mostly in the household appliance industry. So how to empower across industries? The answer is that Cosmoplat is just based on the mass customization model with user experience as the center and change from mass manufacturing to mass customization. So Cosmoplat is not a simple operation platform at the factory end, nor a simple platform for transaction matching. We are a platform for connecting all process of the whole ecosystem, a platform for users' whole process experience iteration, and a multilateral ecological platform for value-added sharing. And we are evolving together with our customers and the eco partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's so good to see, and it's interesting again to think about how important it is for IoT, this zero distance and connectivity, and all of these things. That on the other hand, we are living in a world right now, especially in the crisis, we have felt strongly and now still feeling the consequences of this distanced transportation of goods and services that is happening across the world. And maybe with that innovation, we will start thinking in a different way. Thank you very much, Ms. Sven. Well, I hope we will have to have more time for some more questions. I would like to move to Ms. Susanne Bieler. And as a robotics expert, how can the overreaching perception that robots will disrupt social frameworks be refuted, and how can the IFR support African countries to adopt and coexist with robots? The floor is yours, Ms. Bieler.
Thank you for those questions. So first of all, I'd like to start with some learnings from other countries that already have started their automation journey some while ago. And what we see is automation means a transition. But what we cannot see is that this causes disruptions in the social frameworks. We're right now at a level of 3 million industrial robots in factories around the globe. So that's the total number. It's not more. You might think it's more, but it actually is not. And what we see is that high rates of automation are usually linked to low unemployment rates. First of all, so what does it mean for companies? For companies, robotization means increase in competitiveness and increase in productivity. They are benefiting from flexibility. It's increasing their resilience to crises and disruption. We just have seen a demonstration of that with the pandemic. Automation enables sustainable development and sustainable production. So with looking at the UN Sustainable Development Goal, that's just a good way to go. And overall, we really see that automation is rather safeguarding jobs. It's increasing societal well-being and also the quality of life. There is a recent study by the World Bank and Harvard Business School that is comparing the effects of robotization on developing countries versus developed countries. And what they actually find is developing countries benefit more from robotization than the developed countries do. The main reason behind that is quality upgrading. Automation helps reduce the human errors in production. So you get a consistent level of accuracy in the production, the product quality goes up, and this helps when you're exporting goods. So that is actually something where the benefits are not evenly spread, but they are spread or shifted towards the benefit of developing countries actually. Yes, automation imposes some risks, but it also brings a lot of opportunities. So African countries could actually specialize in what they are best at and can excel in that. What we see is that jobs are indeed changing with automation. So actually, it's a mix of tasks that is changing. So it's not jobs vanishing, but jobs do share a different mix of tasks. So actually, we also see that new jobs are created. The whole transition process needs time. It's not happening overnight. So this time should be well spent to prepare the population for this transition. First of all, we have to take the fears serious. This perception is there. So information helps in that aspect, as well as education and training. And that's what is needed to prepare the population for the transition. So we really have to invest in education and trainings. And we also have to look at what can robots actually do and what can't they do. So robots taking over the dull, the dirty, the delicate, and the dangerous work, so especially dangerous work, let's give that to the robots and take those jobs that humans can really excel at. We're having creativity, we have problem-solving skills, so it will be also not a dark factory, but the future will be in humans collaborating with robots. So everybody, or the robot can do what the robot's best at, and human can excel what they are best at. So it's a huge chance for Africa to actually take that step towards automation, and it will outperform the risks if done properly. So I think there are, of course, some policy measures needed. What can the IFR do to support this transition, and how can we help African countries to grow? First of all, we are compiling annual statistics on robotics. So these are great tools for cross-country comparisons, and they are also used for economic studies on that. And also the World Bank study I just cited is based on IFR statistics. So I think that's important if you really want to compare your own country's performance with the other countries. That's what you can use for. We're looking forward to really help develop local communities. So if the IFR can collaborate with some national activities and initiatives to grow a local robotics community, we're happy to help that in that effort. We've done that in other parts of the world, like in Russia, for example, in the past, quite successful. We are happy to bring in the knowledge on process automation. We can link to the big robot suppliers that also can support in skills and education, because that's what they are traditionally doing, is educate and train the employees of their customers. We are also looking forward to startups in Africa that are developing robots or robotic solutions. They don't have to necessarily do the robot itself, but rather offer the solutions that are needed by the industry. And we're also looking forward to connect them to global players and exchange best practices. There are so many lessons learned already, and you do not have to reinvent the wheel, but you can really benefit from that. And so we are offering networking for companies, and we are also closely collaborating with research institutions. I think the big backbone of the whole process is also a strong research community in the country, and also we are offering the network for them as well, and to learn from other parts of the world. So that's my contribution.
Thank you, Ms. Bieler. Awesome to have you with us. It's definitely educating about the consequences and how to use the next level of robotics. And we're also talking about social robotics and all the aspects that can happen with that. But allow me to move to Mr. Olufuye. And the question I would like to have for you is, what are the key threats that African enterprises experience when engaging with digital technologies, and which strategies can they implement for addressing cybersecurity skills gaps? The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Selma Buradovic, and greetings to everyone. My name again is Jameson Olufuye, and I would like to begin by congratulating the African Union for their summit on industrialization and economic diversification under the auspices of the Africa Industrialization Week, and for this very interesting side event in collaboration with UNIDO and UNECA on the road to the fourth industrial revolution for Africa. Answering those very interesting questions, number one, the threats that African enterprises experience when engaging with digital technologies. There are quite a number of threats, really. The first one that comes to mind is the proprietary software with the associated vendor lock-in scenarios. African governments need to address this issue, has established a continental-wide open source policy, especially for all e-government operations, to enable data interoperability. The second thing I have is unclear government policy with respect to the fourth industrial revolution. While most countries have in place broad ICT policies and regulations, specifics that are related to the fourth industrial revolution are not in place in most of our countries. Let me give you an example. Of the 55 countries in Africa, only 18 have ratified the African Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data Protection, also known as the Malabo Conventions. This it was put in place in 2014. Failure to do this will have effect on system interoperability and data governance across Africa, even with the opportunity of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. The challenge mentioned above also mean bottlenecks for law enforcement and litigation over a business dispute as a result may take as much as 30 years to resolve, if not more. And by that time, businesses might have gone under. The other threat is unfavorable government procurement policy and policy implementation that does not favor local enterprises and local content. In other words, a lack of prioritization of local enterprises in procurement is a major challenge, which does not create a balanced business environment for African enterprises for innovation. Another threat is lack of functional and effective funding mechanism. And where there exists, the requirement for fiscal collateral in an IP-driven fourth industrial revolution is a major challenge. Many times, the funding rules are even unclear to startups and SMEs. Also, no clear rule on intellectual property coordination across board. You know, there are many institutions that are addressing the issue of patent and registration, but the issue is this institution, you know, they are weak. So IP creation and retention and the existing IP laws are weak and do not protect IP owners. Another point is absence of robust infrastructure for connectivity. In this regard, we talk about infrastructure for 24/7 electricity, which is a second industrial revolution deliverable, and for broadband internet access at affordable cost, which is a third industrial revolution of benefit. Even though connectivity in Africa is rising at 42%, and in Nigeria in particular, about 52% at this point. General challenge of ease of doing business with registration of new businesses and high cost of business registration, especially for e-commerce, which is viewed by some authorities as being only in goods without factoring in software and services as product in a scenario setting, as mentioned by one of our panelists. Lack of up-to-date and reliable data and statistics on digital business opportunities. We look forward to a time when all this is integrated, as Mr. Olivier mentioned earlier, but we need statistics. All the above point to the fact that if governments do not move, nothing really moves. And to your second question, which is which strategies can they implement for addressing the cybersecurity skills gap? I recommend that a national cybersecurity officer should be appointed in country to oversee national cybersecurity issues along with cybersecurity policy implementation. You need to create a demand for cybersecurity professionals by funding national, regional, and continental computer emergency response teams, SATs. And they also need to put in place regulations that require all digital institutions to have SATs in place, and also registration of same with the national SAT. And also put in place regulations that require all digital institutions have business continuity frameworks and plans in place. And then there is also need for provision of funding for capacity development through regular workshops and hosting of Cyber Awareness Week, just like we're having this webinar now. Cybersecurity literacy and education program should be embedded into primary and secondary school with incentives, implying that cybersecurity should be incorporated as the fifth element of foundation learning STEM program in schools across Africa. In other words, cybersecurity, science, technology, engineering, mathematics should be taught together as foundation learning, as cybersecurity covers all these disciplines and transcend people, process, and technology in our new digital world. Again, lastly, if our governments in Africa do not really move, nothing indeed moves. And for there to be any effective movement, they need to onboard as a culture the multi-stakeholder approach to policy formulation in line with internet governance principle of the Tunis Agenda and the realization of the benefit of the sustainable development goal for our people. This paradigm shift is more critical if we consider the fourth industrial revolution as representing a fundamental change in the way we live, work, and relate to one another in an environment of pervasive innovation. I want to thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much for your insights. And I hope we will have an opportunity for a question or two. I would like now to move to Mr. Johannes Ashenafi, who's joining us from somewhere beautiful, somewhere on the beach and the sea. And this is like technology allowing all of us to come together. And I must admit, I love it absolutely. Mr. Johannes, can you highlight prominent examples of how artificial intelligence is supporting economic diversification in the continent? And what steps are necessary to mainstream artificial intelligence in the continent? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And then it is my big, really privilege to have an opportunity to speak with this prominent, summit. So to address the question that you asked me about the artificial intelligence, so as to just, support economic diversification. So I have to just, start by saying that, so we are in the big era of just, utilizing the very potential of artificial intelligence in making a change in different sectors, like upgrading or improving the value chains of the agricultural, the health, the transportation, manufacturing, energy, and education, and etc. sectors. Because recently, artificial intelligence is really playing a very profound and a very prominent role in just bringing some sort of change in our day-to-day activities by improving all the value chains in the stated sectors. So the developing countries have already integrated artificial intelligence in the mentioned sectors, so as to just benefit from the very application of the artificial intelligence. So when we practically come to our continent, Africa is not also a difference, because we have already started to use some of the applications of the field, or this cutting edge artificial intelligence. There are lots of initiatives, and then there are lots of AI startups which are really benefiting the continent in order to just getting an economic diversification. So to just cite some of the prominent examples in different countries. For example, if you take the farm drive in Kenya, the beach Silka in Ghana, the farm Crowdy in Nigeria, the aerobics in South Africa, the power hive in Kenya again, are some of us the prominent or practical examples that we could really cite as the very important applications which are really playing a very tremendous role in bringing a diversified economy in the continent. There are also other initiatives who are really playing a good role in just making the continent go forward for the economic development, like the initiatives in Morocco, the initiatives in Rwanda, Ethiopia, Tunisia, South Africa. Like these initiatives are some of the prominent examples that we can just cite as to indicate the very good examples and the very good applications of the artificial intelligence. So that these technologies in different countries, like Affectiva, Data Appropriate, Kudi, Tuteria, Awamo, Clavia, and you may just cite lots of practical AI initiatives and startups which are really playing a vital and tremendous role in bringing the expected economical change throughout the country. Even though there are lots of initiatives and startups all over the continent, as of the second questions that you raised, there are some sort of hindrance. There are some bottlenecks that has to be really resolved, so that the full potential of artificial intelligence could be really harnessed and used so as to just bring the expected change. So how we are going to just the continent, how the continent is going to just benefit fully from the artificial intelligence. I've got some recommendations that I want to just emphasize. So the first one is every policymakers, government officials, public and private sector should consider the importance of AI and include AI in their ICT and digital policy, because this is really the very important tools that we should bring on board so as to bring the economic change. So the policymakers should consider the importance of artificial intelligence, and it has to be really part of their ICT policy. And the next recommendations that I have is all member states should allocate an appropriate budget to support the AI initiatives and the startups, which are already started so as to make a big change in the economic development or diversification of the continent, so that appropriate budget has to be really allocated so as to just, use the full potential of artificial intelligence. So universities should consider the inclusion of AI in their curriculum, because we have got really talented youth, and then professionals and researchers. So universities should take the leading role so as to include the field of artificial intelligence in their curriculum, so that proper training and then research activity oriented capacity building has to be really maintained in those universities. Research centers like the Africa Research Center for Artificial Intelligence, which is in the final stage of establishment under the support of ECA and other partnership organization, is in their in its establishment phase in Congo Brazzaville. I'm working as a lead consultant for this project, and then research center like the one which is going to be established in Congo Brazzaville will have an enormous impact for the purpose of working or doing a cutting edge research work in artificial intelligence area for capacity building, collaboration and partnership, so as to just guarantee economic diversification in the continent. The other important consideration or recommendations that I have is just creating a massive awareness among all the sectors in the use, applications and importance of AI, therefore supporting the economic diversification. As I mentioned, AI has got really full potential to catalyze and activate some of the different sectors like the health, the agriculture, the manufacturing, the transportation, and the other sectors, so that proper awareness creation has to be made in this sector, so that the full potential of AI can be exploited and harnessed. And the other important consideration is the knowledge and experts of African diasporas in the field, because there are lots of African diasporas who are really working in the areas of artificial intelligence. Therefore, their potential and expertise has to be really harnessed, so that the full potential of artificial intelligence would be really implemented for the purpose of, getting the appropriate advantage. So providing better platform for the AI startups and initiative in the continent for better collaboration and partnership. The research centers that we're going to establish in Congo Brazzaville is really a particular example for this important activity, because we have got different startups and initiatives throughout the continent. So the collective, effect of all these startups and initiatives would have really a profound impact in producing services and goods out of their harnessed and collaborative work, so that research center has to be just work in making a platform for the startups and initiatives throughout Africa. The other important consideration to harness the full potential of AI in the continent, hence bringing the economic diversification, should be the point of view donors and philanthropic organizations should be encouraged to fund and support AI-enabled solution and startups, so that the required economic diversification will be really achieved through all this important recommendation. And I think this is the things that I have. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. And definitely bringing in, when we look at this, talking about AI, talking about robotics, IoT, I would like to go back to Mr. Bangsama. If you are still around with us, we have a question about if you can tell us a bit more about how the InnoTech labs really work and how they are set up, and for talking about exactly what we were talking about: robotics, AI, IoT. What are the startups, the technology mechanics that you are using? What are the startups that come out of the lab, and how does it work? If you can give us some more information about that, thank you.
Yeah, thank you again for this opportunity. And in fact, great contributions from other colleagues, because all these technologies are really combined in InnoTech Lab. So in InnoTech Lab, we are working based on use case. So we have defined what we call the action line. Action line, these are areas where we think these are very, very crucial for the development of Africa. So one of them is smart agriculture. So we try to find some concrete use case, how to transform, let's say, the life of the people who are working on the farm, on the field, by creating, let's say, new tools adapted also to the continent, integrated with IoT. So, most of the time in the village, our grandmothers and mothers go around and then work and using, let's say, traditional tools. And we try to recreate all these tools by means of, let's say, high-level technologies. We have also a lot of other, let's say, use case in this area. In the area of health, for example, we have what we call intelligent, I don't know the name in English, prothesis. So yeah, where we create 3D models and we integrate IoT technologies to make the lives of the people easier. We have in the area of industry, we are working now, it's not finished. We are working on creating a demonstrator for an IoT industry. So to really demonstrate what is going on, what is concretely the fourth industrial revolution. And then we are integrating robotics, AI, and all this stuff to make it concrete for the people. And these examples are also used for the training, where people came and they can really see and so on. This year in October, we presented the first car completely designed, modeled, and assembled on site at Innotech Lab. It was a great day. It was a great day demonstrating the technology capacity that is possible in Africa. And this is what I would like to share. Of course, we have a lot of strategies. We have a lot of, let's say, visions. At the end of the day, is making something concrete. We need physical place where people can really, let's say, break the steel, integrate all this IoT stuff, and discuss with the leaders from the industry. This is how this can transform your industry. This is what we call Industry 4.0. And also for the training, you know, most of the training in Africa, in my case in Cameroon, is more theoretical. A lot of people, even the trainers, they even don't see what a real Industry 4.0 application. So but they are teaching industry. So we need this kind of thing. That's why I would like, let's say, after this session, let's combine the efforts and create something concrete. I will suggest Innotech Lab as a playground where we can create a kind of program and work on it concrete, being here next year and see, hey, this is what we achieved.
Wonderful. I think that's a great idea, is to immediately move a step forward. I would encourage all of the speakers to share your contact so that people can contact you. And also among each other. Definitely, as you just said, I strongly believe in the opportunities and possibilities to share the knowledge, to share the experience. And as it was, as Mr. Bila said, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but really kind of use what is already exists here. And I would like just to we have like 4 minutes left, and I would like just to go back to Mrs. Bieler on the fact that you said that the development, if I understood correctly, the development in robotics is now can be the developing countries can profit from that and do a leapfrog compared to developed countries. Can you just, I like that as a last statement today, that there is an opportunity where, we can move faster than we are. The floor is yours, Ms. Bieler. Thank you very much, Ms. Bang.
So it's really about taking the benefits. So the benefits are improving the quality and not only producing, the idea is not only producing for the local African market, but really producing in the quality that you can address exports and really bring high quality goods to other countries. So that's the idea behind that. And that's really a huge opportunity for Africa, and it would be a pity if the African countries would not take this opportunity.
Thank you very much. I like that idea that there are, I mean, obviously so many opportunities, such a young continent with such young people that are really willing and eager to move and to make things happen. I was very fortunate to work across different countries across Africa and working with startups, working with young people, with women, or in general having the opportunity to see technology develop and products develop. As it was mentioned earlier, it was also about combining, all the efforts that existed and the conversation that we had earlier on the high level panel, also in terms of investing and having things move forward. It's definitely the African digital transformation strategy is seen as a leapfrogging opportunity for the continent to fully adopt technologies such as artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, drones, wearable technologies, 3D printing, IoT, big data, software-enabled industrial platforms. However, in order for this vision to be successful, affordable, accessible, and reliable infrastructure, conductive innovation ecosystem, and a digitally empowered workforce are essential. As I see here, you are putting your emails here. Thank you very much for that. And it is about combining efforts and expertise. Thank you very much, Sama, on that. I would like to thank everybody for being with us on this important subject about technology, the fourth industrial revolution, making and creating a better tomorrow through it. And to all the speakers, to everybody in the audience. Now we would have an opportunity to a big applause, but yeah, we are not on the spot all together. Hope to see you all on some occasion, and thank you very much for your insights, for everything you are doing and your everyday work, and see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you next time. So you guys, I will try to contact you for possible next steps if you want.
Yeah.
Please do so. This is exactly what we need, is a next step and connecting with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.